set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
So, AK Hackers, it's Wednesday, it's hump day, and today we focus on just creators. And today, well, come on, it's Martin Scorsese, whatever his name is, I don't care, he's one of the greats. I put him, he's like number 3 to me. We have Woody Allen and Ridley Scott as this like two-headed dragon, and number 3 is Scorsese. Of his filmography, well, we have 3 films I have yet to see, and even the most recent, the 2023 Killers of the Flower Moon, which was an Apple Plus TV, which is an Apple TV Plus. I thought it was just Apple Plus. But hey, it's an Apple movie. I have yet to see it, which is bad, because anything more Scorsese I should see within a couple hours, not even a couple weeks. 1967. Who's That Knocking on My Door? I believe I've seen it maybe once. Don't remember it. Boxcar Bertha, 1972. 5 years later, his second movie. I have yet to see that. I believe I've rented that a couple times. I'm sure it's available on digital. So, we get the rest of his filmography, right? So, quick show note. Previously on this podcast, I had sat down to record this very episode. And Peter's brain, the film buff brain, just went buck wild. And I kind of started to address issues I have with his, like, what they call like his activism and his salvaging and saving movies, because I'm a maniac, and I find problems with everything. It's hard to keep a person like me happy. So there's an episode of that, my issues with Martin Scorsese's film Foundations, which was originally intended to be this episode. With that, 1973. So we get this beginning of this like almost like hard street, mean street, like dirty street trilogy. 1973 Mean Streets. Harvey Keitel. This is Cartel's movie. A lot of people somewhat rebranded, respin it as a Robert De Niro movie. Robert De Niro is in this movie, but Mean Streets is this beginning of Martin Scorsese being this New Yorker, same as Woody Allen too, by the way, living a life but putting it all on film. It's almost like a version of hip-hop. It's like a cinema version of hip-hop. 1974. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. This is one of the ones where I believe the comedy part of this film doesn't quite resonate. It just doesn't. I think of the time, yes. Is it a tougher movie to watch for today's audiences? Yes. So, like a lot of people say, like, has it resonated? Is it, we get this when we go back in the early films, so filmographies. I mean, just for example, Steven Spielberg, before Jaws, he made a movie called Duel. Duel today is hard to watch by today's audiences. But we see, again, this Martin Scorsese blueprint emerging, where the drama element, and he's got to be the greatest drama director we've ever seen, because every single one of his movies, it has a point, and we can move on from the point. This is very tough to do with modern day filmmakers, by the way. In 1976, we have part 2 of this dirty street, Mean Street trilogy. Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro, endlessly memed at this point. The point of this movie, and I was recently watching it, because there's a lot of this movie I think is Paul Schrader, the screenwriter, who's also a notable director. It's almost like Travis Bickle, who Robert De Niro portrays. I want to say, I think people miss the point of this movie. The point of this movie is you get swallowed up by the city. See, it all comes down to the taxi driver picking up one of his rides in the night at the end of this movie. That ride he has a history with. But this movie is really about moving through an existential crisis. And how much to the edge can you put yourself? And I think of the time, same here with Alice Doesn't Live Here anymore, politically charged. But again, the political side of it, not quite there when it comes to resonate. You know, like it doesn't quite resonate, doesn't quite carry over. I always watch Taxi Driver and I think of Tim Burton's mayor, the Oswald Copperpot's campaign in Batman Returns. The Taxi Driver, it's just like almost like similar shots, similar scenes, similar flow. I did want to say Burton referenced some of that. New York, New York. Here we go. So even we did a I want to say like Nashville. What was that? Song of the Heart or Of the Heart was a Francis Ford Coppola movie. A lot of these guys, a lot of these 70s guys, they jumped into musicals. New York, New York is one of Scorsese's misses. It never quite resonated, not quite there. So we kind of get these between, like he establishes himself with Mean Streets, does a controversial film, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Doesn't, like the next year. Takes, within 2 years, comes out with Taxi Driver. Shakes the world. Subverts expectations with New York, New York. But then comes back with Raging Bull, which is his first true Oscar run for every category. Robert De Niro, at this point, his absolute best performance. Black and white. Joe Pesci is on the scene. And then 2 years later, we get the King of Comedy. And the King of Comedy has resonated because of the Joker movie. But the King of Comedy, 1,000% there. Another insanely targeted, inspired performance by Robert De Niro. Jerry Lewis. But this is the Dangers of Fame. It's one of the great stand-up comedy movies. I mean, you can pair this movie with Punchline, with Tom Hanks, if you want like a light side, dark side type double feature. After Hours, 1985. Neo-noir. Every filmmaker tries to make a neo-noir. And you might say to yourself, well, what about Steven Spielberg? Well, hey, I consider a lot of AI neo-noir. Once they get into the city, but maybe like it's the film genre, and we again been exploring neo noir ever since we did Shattered for Wolfgang Petersen's Remembrance, because we did like a year or two ago we did almost like month-long Wolfgang Petersen episodes. After Hours, Maligned, Pass, Move On, 1986. Of this time, 1986, The Color of Money, Paul Newman, Tom Cruise, one of the great all-time sequels. And I always hated in the movie Scream when they argue about great sequels, and then it's like it's always Godfather 2, Terminator 2, Aliens, and then someone's like, oh, someone's got a hard on for James Cameron. It's like, no, the people that actually watch movies in this world put The Color of Money as one of the Fast Eddie Felson, played by Paul Newman. Incredible soundtrack. Again, incredible point. A lot of I just always see a lot of Taxi Driver in The Color of Money. And the reason for that is these are movies about individuals like returning to center, like discovering themselves. In this case, he's rediscovering himself. This is a mature, more targeted version of like even Steven Spielberg's Hook. 1988, not afraid of controversy at all. The Last Temptation of Christ with the absolute great William Dafoe. We'll spotlight him too, by the way, guys. William Dafoe. This is a movie that got nothing but wild attention back in the day. This is one of the great Christ movies, one of the great interpretation movies, just one of the great films of all time. I think the great film should also have great subjects. Now, I understand the outrage of this movie, and there's a lot of it I agree with. Last Temptation of Christ, we want to say, is going to kickstart this era. And the era's not going to end until 1997. But he skids a little. So we kind of see, just to crystallize some of his filmography, again, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ, right? Like these are his movies. These are the ones, but then between them all, it's like King of Comedy, Color of Money, New York, New York, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. He's almost like has one, misses one, has one, misses one. I forever say, and it's somewhat of a regular talking point of mine now, which I don't bring up enough here, but it's really hard to get 3 solid films from a filmmaker. Now, I think a lot of times, often too, like films are misunderstood or mischaracterized. Some of the expectations of the movies kill the way the audience receives it. Like all of this cool stuff, like all these things that happen with the film going experience. But we can make arguments. We can make arguments that in 1986 he makes one of the greatest sequels of all time, The Color of Money. 1988 he makes one of the great Bible movies of all time, The Last Temptation of Christ. And in 1990 he absolutely shatters the grid and recreates the mafia saga, the mafia story with Goodfellas. See, it was Godfather, but then Goodfellas makes it cool. Goodfellas becomes Sopranos, by the way. And then in 1991, Cape Fear. More Robert De Niro, Oscar-worthy, Nick Nolte in that. It's one of the great remakes. So from like 86 to 91, he's got one of the great remakes, one of the great sequels. He redefines the gangster genre and technically redefines the biblical epic. This is something of note. Now, we're talking about it on these terms. Google it, and no one kind of puts The Color of Money anywhere. 1993. So there's a little bit of a run of these movies in Hollywood. We previously discussed a movie very similar to this. I mean, when I went to overseas a couple years ago, overseas to get engaged and also to go to a wedding, but we were like 2 weeks out. It was like a 2-week European hop. I was finally able to watch Dangerously Liaison, a movie I had begged to watch my entire life. So I watched that on the flight, come back home, and just keep like rewatching it. And recorded an episode of The Film Buff and continued to watch the movie. But he makes The Age of Innocence. It's a young Hollywood movie. It's an Oscar push movie. But he comes back, and Age of Innocence is good. Daniel Day-Lewis, Winona Ryder, that's what I mean. It's like the young Hollywood, and Michelle Pfeiffer. 95, I remember seeing this sucker in the theaters. He makes Casino, which is beyond solid and has resonated. But Casino really was considered a disappointment one compared to Goodfellas. The backlit halo glow, the way that this movie's shot, so much of it looks like it's like in a casino. Like Casino looks like it's in a casino. 1997, we get Kundun. I can't speak too much on this one. I mean, I have to rewatch it. It came and went. Highly competitive year in the Oscars. 1999, he skids again. So we kind of want to say, like, Casino, underwhelming. Kundun's a mess. Then he, with Nicolas Cage, Oscar winner Nicolas Cage at this point, because I believe Nicolas Cage won Leaving Las Vegas in 97. Bringing Out the Dead with John Goodman. And this is his, like, 90s movie. Dare we say, MTV editing. He makes one of the best MTV edited movies of all time. Now, we have movies like Go. We have movies like Spun. There's a lot of movies around this time that they're hyper, they're fast, they're speeding up the, even, look at Oliver Stone. Look at everything he tried to do with Natural Born Killers and forward from Natural Born Killers, by the way. Natural Born Killers forever changed the way Oliver Stone made movies. He throws his hat in this ring, and we want to say stylistically, I mean, this movie hits on every single level. When it came out, we can't say that. And then one of the great runs of all time begins after Bringing Out the Dead. So in 2002, really, Martin Scorsese makes 3 straight movies that should have won Best Picture. God, oh my God, this angers me so much. 2002, Gangs in New York. 2004, The Aviator. 2006, The Departed. Each of these movies should have given him Best Picture. It's The Departed that kind of breaks through for him, which is, again though, but he does one of the great remakes, redefines the American Mafia movie. Mark Wahlberg's performance is incredible. Alec Baldwin. We have one incredible Jack Nicholson, and arguably Jack Nicholson's last great movie. 2010, we have one of the great psychological thrillers, psychological mysteries. Technically, we can maybe fold this one into neo-noir too. Shutter Island. And he makes 4 stellar movies in a row with Leo. We want to say he has a better run with Leo than he does with De Niro. 2011, he collaborates with, I think, Peter Jackson. Hugo comes out. This is very similar to Spielberg and Jackson making Tintin. A lot of Hollywood filmmakers, again, this is the second time Scorsese's like throwing his hat into the rank of like what's new, what's hot, technology. One of his contemporaries, Robert Zemeckis, pioneered like with image movers, like all of this technology for motion capture. Martin Scorsese says, like, let me make a motion capture kids movie. He makes Hugo. We'll talk about Hugo one day on Saturday, Sunday. 2013, another movie that should have dominated the Oscars, The Wolf of Wall Street. So, Wolf of Wall Street and The Aviator are 2 movies of mine I regularly watch. And I love the contrast of Leo in these 2 movies. Leo in Wolf of Wall Street, and everyone too, even like getting what he got out of Jonah Hill in Wolf of Wall Street, you have to say, like, what are we doing here? Because we're watching people, we know who they are, and we're just falling into their characters. 2016, here we go. This is a movie that this is almost like his biblical follow-up to Last Temptation of Christ. Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, Silence. This is one of the man. I know you haven't seen it because no one talks about Silence 2016, but it's almost like you have to see it. I don't even want to talk about it. because I feel like people have to see this movie. But it's somewhat of this like religious, biblical, like spiritual follow up to The Last Temptation of Christ. Like in a couple ways, it's similar subject matter, but like one's truly of the Bible and one is the people like from the like no one's of the Bible and one's from the Bible. We'll say Silence is there, and Andrew Garfield too. Like you got give him props for Heartbreak Ridge at this time too. 2019, yet another movie that should have gotten Best Picture. Should have dominated. It's crazy where people, I don't know, but Netflix should have taken home the gold for The Irishman. And I kind of want to say in 2023, it's almost like that's almost like why I'm not flocking to Killers of a Flower Moon. Because I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to say this should have won Best Picture. Like, I just know it. But those are the films of Martin Scorsese. Now, we have another episode floating around this time. Scroll through some of the the releases, the feed. That's the word I was looking for. Scroll through the feed and see if you can find it, because I do address what I view as major issues with his film activism, and he does great work. I don't want to like totally dismiss his activism, but I'm a grouchy old man. I'm like the Grinch. I'm just like on my mountain shouting down to people. But I have issues with it, so please check that out, because we try and be balanced on the Film Buff podcast, guys. The third greatest filmmaker of all time, Martin Scorsese. Let's go.
Okay, that's a wrap.